We're joined now, like I said, D4 Land Services Hotline. Joe Sheehan Newsletter. We talk MLB, all things MLB. It's a Tuesday thing. Joe, I've got these all-star rosters in my hand. I'm so giddy and electric, I couldn't sleep for days.
I have the opposite reaction.
What?
The All-Star game for me is just, I usually take it off. I don't know if I'll take it off this year, but it's just not that big a deal to me anymore. The players, the church picnic aspect to it, where everybody plays, that doesn't do anything for me. I do think there's something to the honor of being selected by the fans that does matter, but the player selections and I used to sit there the day after they did the rosters and just break them all down. Like, how did this guy get on the team? Why wasn't this guy on? And now I just can't care anymore. They're going to name 10 injury substitutions anyway. So you're going to end up in the end with like 75 to 80 All-Stars. It just doesn't mean anything to me anyway. And I grew up, dude, the 79 All-Star game with the Dave Parker throw, the 83 All-Star game, which was a blowout at I want to say that was at Wrigley. No, 88 was Wrigley. The 83 was the Atlee Hammaker giving up the grand slam to Fred Lynn. 88 was the 2-0 game. I want to say in 15 innings, Jay Howell blew it. There was a long rain-delayed one at Wrigley one year. Like, I remember all of these All-Star games from the 70s and 80s when the leagues were separate and the game mattered. You go back to 1967, Frank Robinson, Hank Aaron, and Roberto Clemente. I've got one of those wrong. Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, and Hank Aaron played the entire game. Like, that's when the All-Star game was the All-Star game. I know how I sound. I sound all I get it. But what we're going to
Joe, I already jumped off your porch. You don't have to explain to me.
I know I sound like I get it, but I'm telling you, man, it's just what we're going to see next Tuesday doesn't resemble what an All-Star game should be. It's closer to what the NBA All-Star game became than an actual competitive All-Star game.
Okay. Is this a result of modern players? Is it a result of commissionership misleadership? Why is this the All-Star game we have?
The single biggest reason is that you can watch these guys all the time. When you only had your local games, and back then, go back to the 80s, not every game was on. I think the Yankees and Mets in New York, we were fortunate they were always on somewhere. But a lot of places would only televise 40, 50 games a year. So you weren't seeing the stars from the other league other than the game of the week. If you got the game of the week that had that, Dave Winfield was in the game of the week and you happened to see him with the Padres.
Yeah.
Or the All-Star game, or the playoffs and World Series. It was just 2 rounds back then. So the opportunity to see a star from the other league who didn't typically come to your town, or you didn't have to get to see on TV, it was special about seeing all these guys on the field. And again, they played more of the game. The game mattered because there used to be a real rivalry. If you're under 40, you might not remember this, the leagues were separate. The National League and the American League were completely separate entities. The National League starting in 1876, the American League starting in 1901, really. It emerged from the Western League and prior to that. But there was a real rivalry between these leagues. There was I'm an American League guy, you're a National League guy, we want to beat your brains. The National League dominated the All-Star game for a very long time, and it mattered. And then the AL started dominating as well. But the changes in and around baseball, first, more games being available on TV. Then the expanded playoffs, so you got to see more players in October. Interleague play was really the big blow. So it wasn't as special anymore to see stars from the AL and the AL playing off against each other. And now we have interleague play every single day. And you can watch literally every single game. And we have the expanded playoffs. And now the leagues don't matter. The leagues are just conferences now. There's no difference between the American League and the National League anymore. Used to be different umpires, different styles of play, different administration, all kinds of different things. Now they're just conferences, like the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference in the NBA, or the AFC and the NFC in the NFL. So there's not that rivalry either. So everything that made the All-Star game special for 50 years simply doesn't exist anymore.
Joe, I'm going to derail myself because you just said the word umpire, and you reminded me of something I saw this weekend. It was announced that C.B. Buckner and 6 others right now, all but one ranked 53 or higher out of 70-something umpires, will be retiring at the end of the season.
So I scanned the list, and I didn't see rankings. But the one thing that did jump out at me is most of them were very familiar names, which is to say I think they're all older umpires, veteran umpires. And this seems like an opportunity for the league to start turning over its umpire corps to get a younger group in there, maybe more pliable in terms of things like ABS and eventually going to full ABS. But mostly just kind of getting guys out of the game who have been here a long time. I wrote this in SI 15 years ago now.
Wow.
My suggestion was that get younger umpires, pay them a lot better than you do now, and then they age out in 10 years. Because what you don't get then is these like grudges that develop over time. And you don't get umpires who start to think that, and this was, of course, a bigger problem before ABS, but, I have my strike zone, and I run the game my way. Umpire ego, I think, is a damaging thing for the game. And if you simply said, this is a job you're going to get $1 million a year for 10 years and then you have to leave, I think you'd get a younger, better odds, presumably, and you wouldn't have some of the problems that develop with veteran and older umpires. So that's not what MLB is doing here. But the idea of getting a younger group of umpires, I think, is a positive.
Yes. And okay, with me and the rankings of what I wanted, I think it benefits that it's the bottom third primarily. And there'll probably be more announcements coming. But it struck me that it was primarily, they're all from the bottom third of the rankings.
Right. And where were the rankings? Were they just based on ball strike calls?
Yes. That is correct. To the best of my memory, but yes, it is.
Yeah.
They're ABS ranking.
It's important to remember that umpires have tasks other than that. And we don't really rank them based on how well they make calls on the bases or how well they run a game or how well they're respected by the league. I do think that's one aspect of their job that we're ranking them on. It's the easiest one to rank them on, obviously. But just in general, and another thing, this is MLB likes to pretend that everybody's just getting by. But as an entity, MLB has a lot of money. And this is a problem that MLB can solve with money, with buyouts, which is saying we have all this cash, let's use it to make the umpire core better. I think there are a lot of problems MLB should be more willing to solve with money, whether it's financing ballpark construction or setting up a developmental league to test new rules. MLB has a ton of money. This is a good use of it.
Joe, back to the All-Star rosters. 26 first-time All-Stars. Is that a statement about the state of the game, where youth is being served? Is that due to some veterans are injured, struggling, or it really doesn't mean anything?
It's a little bit of everything. The game is younger now. I've written about this a lot. Guys are aging out, hitters especially, are aging out. Used to be like 36 and then 34, and now it's like 32. Guys are hitting the cliff. We also have a situation this year. Aaron Judge is out. Mike Trout is out. He got voted in. These two guys got voted in. We'll see if they get replaced. There are situations where like older players have been hurt and they're not putting up the numbers. More and more, though, I think the biggest factor is the way we vote. If you go now, there's no in-ballpark voting anymore. You don't get handed a ballot with a Gillette ad on it.
I missed that, by the way. I missed that, by the way.
Everybody our age misses it. I really, really do miss it. And not just the process, but like arguing with your friends about it. Like we didn't have Baseball Reference. We didn't have a supercomputer on our phone. We just had to sit there and argue Lou Whitaker versus Bobby Grich and Willie Randolph and whoever else we were fighting over. I miss those times sitting in the ballpark having those fights. And now it's just you go on and I do it myself. This guy's got much better numbers and he's got a much better career. So it's pretty obvious. But the fights were a lot of fun. But right now, if you go online and vote, it lists the player's current season stats. And that, to me, is the biggest factor. The players, too. The players have largely always voted on the current season, and in their case, baseball card stats, home runs, RBIs, wins, saves, ERA. So more and more, the All-Star game is about how you're playing this year. There's not a lot of respect for, well, this guy is a Hall of Famer, a superstar, one of the top players in the game, but he's got a 750 OPS in the first 2 months of the season. That guy used to get voted onto the All-Star team 20 straight years, and now it's more about what have you done for me lately. Because when MLB presents the information, they're presenting the current season stats. Think about catcher in the AL. Cal Raleigh hit 60 home runs last year, finished second in the MVP voting. It was one of the great stories of last year, but between a bad start and missing about a month, he really had no chance to make the All-Star game. Shea Langoliers ended up with the spot. I want to say Dylan Dingler got the backup spot. It's really all about what are you doing this year. So that's going to give younger players an advantage because they're not the reputation or the established career doesn't matter anymore. It's what are you doing this year.
So is Yordan Alvarez the greatest player in the history of baseball?
I love Alvarez. And I missed watching him last year. We had all the injuries because he's just such Guys quiet at the plate. Guys, David Ortiz is somebody who reminds me of. Barry Bonds is somebody who reminds me of, where he's patient. He's not Bonds in that he's going to take everything, but he has good plate discipline. And then when he swings, man, it's just such a pretty, powerful swing. I know I'm not talking about any of the numbers here. I get that, but he's such a fun player for me to watch. Like last night, they were playing the Nationals in DC. And, there was a World Cup game going on. There was 2 or 3 other games early. The Mets were playing, the Brewers and Cardinals were playing. Like, some pretty good games. But every couple of hours, I dip back into that game because I wanted to see Alvarez back. He's on that level for me, that level where Ohtani is at, that level where Judge is at, that level where Trout and Bonds and guys like that used to be at, where I always know when they're coming to the plate so I can watch them hit. Obviously, had the huge game over the weekend. Did I use the stat with you last week that he hadn't driven a teammate in 2 weeks?
No.
He driven in one team. There was a point, and this is at the start, right at the start of July. He'd gone 2 and driven on just one teammate. Now, that's not just about him. That's about nobody getting on base in front of him.
Yeah.
But
Altuve is your leadoff hitter.
Right. And he's batting second, which is where you want your best hitter sitting, but they don't have a deep lineup. So if you're hitting your best hitter second, that's the right play. But it helps when your 8 and 9 hitters occasionally get on base, and the Astros really haven't had that. It's a 4-man offense, really. And so to bring it back to Alvarez, he's carrying them. I know I want to say he's the favorite in the AL MVP voting right now. He's actually minus odds, like minus 160 or so to win the AL MVP, which is hard for a DH. I mean, Shohei Ohtani's not just a DH. He's also put up ridiculous years. But, again, Judge is hurt. Ramirez is hurt. Trout got hurt. Bobby Witt is having a really great year, but it's all like defense and speed. Sometimes that doesn't translate to MVP voting, but he's carrying this team right now. And it's really been a lot of fun to watch.
I've got 2 statistics for you, Joe. 1, Yordan Alvarez loves America. He is the only player in the history of baseball to have 2 walk-off home runs on July 4th.
That's cool. That is a very cool. Okay. That's a great trivia question. They're going to be telling that for 100 years.
I've got another. I said there was 2, right? The Houston Astros, as a team and an organization, love America. They've won 9 straight on July 4th. 3rd longest streak ever.
No kidding. What's the longest?
The longest, oh my God, the White Sox, both of these go back like the 1920s and the 1930s. And I think the White Sox, they're tied with the Pirates for like 1905. And it was the White Sox were 2, and the longest streak of all time escapes me. Sorry, I know. I should know the answer. But
no. I hadn't heard that one. That's a great stat. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So Yordan Alvarez loves America. So I'm going to rephrase my earlier question. Is Yordan Alvarez the greatest player in the history of baseball?
Is he the greatest? Well, I was going to say he can't be the greatest American. He's Cuban.
Well, he's the greatest July 4th player in the history of baseball. We'll just stick with that.
Cuban, Dominican? I might have that wrong.
I'm going to just go with, he's a Latin.
What? No, he's a fun hit. I've written about in the past how great he is left on left. He is one of the great left on left hitters in the last 50 years. I mean, we only have reliable platoon splits going back about 80 years. But he's just, teams are always going to try to bring in the lefty against him, but it's almost not worth it. He's just such a good left on left hitter. He's just a flawless hitter. And it's great to see. If he, I was going to hit you with something to start. Since Josh Hader came off the IL, the Astros have the best record in the American League. Now, it's only 18-13 because the American League is terrible. But the Astros are the best team in the American League since Hader came off the IL.
I argue all the time that if Hader stayed healthy last year, they would have won the West. But missing the last 5 weeks knocked him out. Okay, ready? It was the White Sox has the longest July 4th streak. It wasn't second longest. They won 14 straight on July 4th from 1934 to 1941. And it was the Cleveland Guardians, who were the Indians then, who won 13 straight on July 4th from 1916 to 1923. And the Astros are now tied with the 1901 to 1905 Pirates for 9 straight.
So I want to, you mentioned the date, and just there were like 7 or 8 days apart for these really long winning streaks. It was harder back then because teams almost always played doubleheaders on July 4th. So these are cases where teams are repeatedly sweeping doubleheaders, which is an incredibly hard thing to do. So these streaks to me are actually even more impressive because they're including so many doubleheaders.
Yep, it's just incredible. So remember that next time you're talking to all your fancy baseball friends. But Yordan Alvarez loves America. The Houston Astros love America. And the next time you're giving out betting tips, who are you going to bet on July 4th? Yordan Alvarez and the Astros.
It's funny. 6 weeks ago, we had a really long conversation. I was actually outside for it, and we had this long thing about whether they would trade Alvarez, because at the time they were just they were pushing last place. They were 10 games under 500. We didn't think they had much of a future beyond this year. And now, of course, there's very little chance they're going to. I did not think they had this in them. I just didn't think it was a very good team. And let's face it, they're still a sub 500 team through 90 games. It's not like they're actually good. But I think now the question is, how does Dana Brown take a pretty mediocre farm system and add all of the things this team needs? This team needs at least 2 starting pitchers. This team needs at least 2 hitters. This team probably needs at least 1 right-handed reliever. I don't know how he does that with what's currently in this farm system, which isn't much.
They don't. You can't do all that, Joe. That's not possible. It's what do you do to win the wild card? They're not trying to win it all. That's an impossibility. And you said something, and this is the realization I've come to. They're a 500 team. The problem is they reached 11 games below 500 when they were before they became a 500 team. That's the problem they're facing.
Well, that's the downside. If you're a legitimate 500 team, you can have a stretch where you play 10 games under 500 for 30 games. But over the course of the year, you're going to land around 500. I think the bigger issue for them is this situation in the American League. Normally, a team 2 games under 500, 90 games into the season, we wouldn't be talking about their playoff hopes. I think they're actually 3. They lost last night, so 3 games under 500.
Yeah.
But because the AL is such an absolute disaster this year, you have to consider yourself a contender. I did a thing yesterday, and I'm talking about the Twins. I'm talking about the White Sox and Guardians. I'm talking about the Astros and Rangers. And none of these teams are good, but I don't think any of them can legit. Like, how do you go to your fans and say, we're 2 games out of a playoff spot, but we're going to sell?
Trust me. I debate this at least every other day with the Astros. Joe, quick timeout, come back. Let's hang out some more.
Cool.
Joe Sheehan of the Joe Sheehan newsletter joining us on the D4 Land Services hotline. Most guests of the Louis Bellina Show join us on the D4 Land Services hotline. If you need some, forestry, mulching, pond construction, and a custom metal building from the ground up, website time. You're going to be bored at work. Quit checking your emails. Go to d4landservices.com. D4landservices.com. This is the Louis Bellina Show on the Zone.
You love your Aggie football. We do too.
Hells yeah.
Listen to every game on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Joe Sheehan newsletter. Joe! Yeah, we're talking a little bit of everything. I'm just having some fun with some baseball today. So I had this question in my head. What excites you for the second half? What excites you currently? Because you're not the average baseball fan. And what has you excited for the second half of the season?
Want to see if these young players who made such an impact in the first half, Kevin McGonigal of the Tigers, J.J. Weatherholt of the Cardinals, these great rookies we've seen, can they hold it together? One of the things we'll always see with rookies is, can they hold up over the first really long season that they've had to play? So I think that's going to be something I'll be watching. You look at Cam Schlittler with the Yankees. He's not a rookie, but he basically made 10 starts at the end of last year, pitched the playoffs for them. He's right now the AL Cy Young favorite. We talked about all of those young players on the All-Star team, Louis, but those players that are on the All-Star team, some of them won't be. Can they continue to play this well down the stretch and be part of teams that are contending? I mentioned the Yankees, the Cardinals, Tigers. These are all teams that are either in playoff position or contending for playoff position. So I'm excited to see that. That's probably the thing that jumps out at me. Chase Burns with the Reds. We're seeing this incredible amount of talent right now.
What should excite us? The casual, the average, the normal baseball fan.
I think there's the chaos of these playoff races that, I'll be honest with you, I don't get that excited about it because, I don't know, to me, playoff races are between great teams. 2 teams, 95, 98 wins battling for a single playoff spot. And, of course, we don't have that anymore. And I've never really been able to, myself, make the adjustment to getting excited about, which team is going to get to 83 wins and get a playoff spot. But I have to understand that casual fans and fans of specific teams in those races get very excited about them. So when you look at the standings and you see that you have all of these teams jammed up, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams separated by 5.5 games in the American League for 3 playoff spots. In the NL, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 teams separated by 5 games for 3 playoff spots, for 2 playoff spots in that case. That can be fun. And if that goes into September and every single game matters and there's all of these permutations with tiebreakers, which I hate and stuff, I mean, I think that's fun for casual fans. Again, I'd rather be I think about obviously the 93 Braves and Giants, but, the 1980 Yankees and Orioles, give me the race between 2 great teams. But if we can't have that, sure, I think the chaos is potentially a lot of fun.
See, don't say casual. Just say average. Casual can insult some people.
So I think average isn't more insulting. I never know. I don't. I think I'm not. Let's put it this way. I'm not trying to insult anyone. My feeling, and I'm not going to tell you I always felt this way, but my feeling is come to baseball however you come to baseball. If you like just hanging out, and I told you, when I go to games now, I just want to hang out and BS with my friends, and I'm not sitting there looking up Baseball Reference when somebody hits a double down the line. I just want to hang out and enjoy the ballpark, and that's how I come to the game at the game. When I'm not at the ballpark, it's analysis and thinking about the game off the field. It's all kinds of. But however you come to the game, come to enjoy it however you care to. Where you're going to run into resistance is if you say things like, if you make really statements that are just counterfactual. Don't do that. If you want to tell me that, I'll pick a name here. Jose Caballero is your favorite player, the Yankee shortstop. That's great. Have a favorite player. Love everything he does. If you tell me Jose Caballero is better than such and such, that's where you're going to run into resistance. So come to baseball if you come to baseball. So I don't like average, casual. I feel like all of these terms have a pejorative to them. And I really want to avoid that because I don't want to ever be in a position to say your type of fandom is less than somebody else's type of fandom. And again, Louis, I didn't always feel this way. I've tried to mature into this viewpoint. But yeah, if you want to argue baseball, yeah, I think you've got to be versed in modern analytics and have a certain logic behind it. But if you just like going to a game or follow it or rooting for your favorite team, one of the things that I've always said, Louis, is I'm off track here, but just let me finish the thought. Somebody who follows their team religiously, who watches 155 of the games a year, who listens to 4 podcasts, who follows every single beat writer on Twitter, is going to know that team better than I am from my particular vantage point. I'm covering 30 teams. I'm covering the league. I'm covering issues off the field. The fans that are versed in their one team are always going to know the minutiae. The injuries, what the manager does in the 7th inning of a tie game.
Clutchability of key players.
All of that stuff. They're always going to have. They're going to know things that you're just not going to know if you parachuting in, which isn't to say I don't do the work, but I'm not going to basically be aware that this player had an issue with a family member being sick. That might have gotten some coverage locally. It might have gotten covered on a fan podcast, but it might not have broken out nationally. And that might be why the player is having certain issues. I remember it was Gene Sakura a couple years back, the former Philly shortstop. He lost a kid. Last year, Ellie De La Cruz, a more recent example. He lost his sister early in the season. And, that showed up in his play as the year went on. And I actually didn't realize that until later in the year. So if you're a fan of a team, your fandom is sacred. Man, look, I'm not that guy anymore. When I was 17, I lived and died by you couldn't name a Yankee that I didn't know everything about. I knew everything about everything that was going on with the team. And if you still have that level of fandom, I think about Jamie Newberg with the Rangers. I think about Will Leach with the Cardinals, Randy Gisarelli with the Royals. Their fandom is a part of their public persona, their attachment to that one team. I don't really have that. People call me a Yankee fan. I still root for the Yankees, but it's not the way it used to be. But I think that fans bring a level of knowledge and information of their team that's always going to exceed that of national guys like me.
Fair. You had an interesting word choice in there. You said argue baseball. The thing for me is I've never felt it's argue, it's share. That's all, because the infamous sit in the stands with 2 to 3 friends for 3.5 hours, it's share baseball. It's never argue baseball.
Oh, with me and my friends.
You guys argue baseball?
Oh man! Remember we were playing in Stratomatic leagues together, man. We'd sit there and just we'd make trades in the stands. we wouldn't have our cards with us, but we know our rosters, and we'd be making trades in the stands and arguing about, oh, how can you do that? That guy sucks. I would have given you more for him. And oh man, dude, it was a lot of fun back then. And like I say, I'm not saying it's not better now. I think it's better that we have good information, better information at our disposal to reach these things. Share to me is, I went to, like you and me have been at a ballpark. We're probably talking about like games that we went to, and the best plays we saw, our favorite games, stuff like that. Sharing. To me, if you're talking about who's better, teams, players, who's the best you ever saw, I think that gets into more arguing. And I don't mean bad arguing.
Yeah. No one's throwing hands. No one's throwing hands.
And even, I'm not even talking about like, TV debate shows where the quality of argument is bad. I'm just saying like you're there with your friends, and like I said, maybe it was different. I'm from New York, man. We always drag on each other. That's who we are.
Okay, you're talking about Stratomatic. I played Stratomatic, but I did rotisserie baseball.
Whoa. You played Strat? You never told me this.
Yeah, I played Strat. I played Strat early on, but I got into rotisserie baseball. But hard. I quit so that I could have a job and a life.
I stopped playing a couple years back. I was in industry leagues for a while, where all the experts are, and I found that I just wasn't very good at it. But that to me is, there was an article in the Atlantic, the Ringer, maybe 6 months ago, and it talked about how fantasy leagues are kind of the way that men stay in touch now, the way male friendships are kind of held. There's all this conversation now about how men can't make friends. And that, to me, is what I miss the most about playing in leagues. Or even I played the Strat tournament. I was in the Stratomatic baseball tournament community for a long time. And that was like your friends come out of that. I have guys I still go to ball games with, who I first went to games with 40 years ago going to Strat tournaments. And rotisserie leagues, fantasy leagues are the same thing. I play in a couple of fantasy football leagues pretty much entirely so I can stay in touch with this particular group of people. I'm terrible at fantasy football. But it's a way to keep in touch and say, you talk and trade, and you catch up on each other's kids and whatever's going on. To me, that's a big part of fantasy baseball now. It's not necessarily who's the best. It's why I don't like playing online leagues. I want to play in leagues with my friends to maintain those friendships.
Our rotisserie league draft weekend was 3 days long.
Exactly.
Our rotisserie Friday night was, oh man, I got to roll here, but our rotisserie Friday night was dinner night, and then whatever, depending on our age, late night hijinks we wanted to get in. Saturday was usually a couple of rounds of golf and a barbecue grill out, followed by a poker game, and the actual draft was Sunday.
I love that stuff. I never was in a league that did that, the whole big weekend. But obviously, people have them and they tell me about them. And that just sounds like the greatest thing ever, especially when you keep it going for so long. And you get these situations where like people's kids are in the league now and they hope their dads. Right? But it's about the draft, that you're building it around the draft, but it's about the golf and the poker game and the hijinks and all
the memories.
It's exactly. It's how we maintain friendships in an era that, we don't have Kiwanis, well, I'm sure these things still exist, but you're not as much in bowling leagues or Kiwanis clubs. We don't go to church as much as we used to. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that in the 20th century were how we socialized are largely gone, and fantasy leagues for men, certainly of our age, have really kind of replaced that. And that's
all online. It's all online. You actually have now online run the draft for you versus the commissioner going crazy.
Right. When I say I don't want to do it online, I mean I don't want to just be in a league with 10 strangers.
Yep.
That doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's about, can I be in a league with my friends? And it's so much easier. The first one I ever ran, and I never ran, the first one I was ever in was a guy at USC. It's my junior year at SC. They were looking for people. I got involved. And I can remember him printing out the stats and bringing it by, but so he wouldn't have to mail it to me. He would bring it by my student job and hand me the stats to save him the 50 cents on postage or whatever it was. And that was the way it was back then. He had to manually do the stats. The internet has been the single greatest thing for fantasy baseball and football and hoops and whatever else you want to play.
Joe, I got to roll, dude. Be awesome. I'll check in with you next Tuesday. Thank you always, brother.
Thanks, brother. Take care.
Later. Joe Sheehan of the Joe Sheehan newsletter. Every Tuesday, we talk MLB. I always say all things MLB, and I mean all things MLB. It's the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric on the Zone.
The Money Machine Back to School. It's your chance to win $5,000, and it starts July 27th.
Thank you so much.
The Louis Bellina Show. I'm inside the Charles Schwab studio, but I'm not alone. Join now, Uri Geva. He's the owner of the Brazos Valley Bombers. I've known him, holy cow, I think it's over 20 years. Maybe it's longer. Friend of mine, friend of the Brazos Valley, friend of small animals and the elderly too. Uri, what are you up to, brother?
Man, so much baseball. This week is just lots of baseball, lots of fun, lots of updates to share with you. So
I know it's a 4-game week. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah, so we've got a variety of different things going on. First of all, umpires are great. Umpires are fun. Umpires make good calls when it's urban optics, right? When they go there to get their eyes checked. But what's better than a dancing umpire? So we've got Vincent, the dancing umpire, the same guy that does the Savannah Banana games that you might have seen at Kyle Field or back in Navasota when we were there. That's tonight. He's going to be in town. He is doing his performance. He'll be doing a Macarena. He'll be dancing with the kids. He'll be signing autographs. He'll be taking pictures. He'll make some bad calls. I mean, good calls. And we are thrilled to have Vincent, the dancing umpire, tonight at Navasota. Gates open at 6. First pitch 7:05, and all the fun with Vincent throughout the game.
So tonight, and it's by the way, 4-game home week for the Brazos Valley Bombers. Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. So tonight it all kicks off, and it's the dancing umpire. This is the umpire that the Savannah Bananas uses, and that means it's going to be a lot of fun. It's fun for the whole family. He's got the whole act. That is tonight. Bombers play in Navasota, the high school field, the renovated high school field, the epically awesome, fun for everyone high school field, and that is tonight. So, Uri, when you have one of these special events, I got to assume the ticket prices go through the roof. Like, they've got to be really expensive if you're going to have a special event.
Very expensive. Same as always. Affordable, family fun, core value of ours. So, nope, not expensive at all. $10 at the gate, $7 in advance. Get your tickets. We're talking about the dancing umpire. That's tonight.
So then you don't price gouge? You don't do surge pricing? It's the same low price every time?
You're giving me an idea, okay? But not for tonight, not for this season. If it ever comes, it'll be thanks to our conversation and our education. So we got dancing umpire tonight. Then tomorrow, Louie, it's our pop-up night. And instead of popping up somewhere randomly, we decided, thanks to our friends at Only One Rentals down in Navasota, all your equipment rentals, all the good stuff. They're amazing. They've been a great partner. They're like, what if we made it a free night in Navasota, made it a bonus game for the season ticket holders, and just made it free for the whole community?
Really?
They said, you know what? It is a free night tomorrow night. So that's Wednesday night. The Bombers will be free. You hear it first here on The Zone with Louis Bellina. Breaking news. Free game for everybody in Navasota. That is tomorrow night. You still have to reserve your tickets online. Go to bbbombers.com, click on the Navasota free game, and you get to reserve your ticket. You can also upgrade if you wanted an all-inclusive experience. That is all available online. That's tomorrow night. So that's today, tomorrow. You get a dancing umpire. You get a free night. Then on Saturday, it's The Zone, right? You guys are having a little party, I hear.
Well,
some other radio stations.
Saturday, Listener Appreciation Night 2026. All the Bryan Broadcasting stations are, well, we're inviting our friends, the people that make it possible what we do, the people that hang out with us every day, people that listen and why we do what we do. And the Bryan Broadcasting family of stations, of course, The Zone, 1150 AM, 93.7 FM. And you've got Candy, 95, News Talk 1620, 94.5, Peace 107, La Jefa, Maverick, Willie, and we're all just inviting our friends out. And Saturday night, I get to go hang out with Uri for a while. I love that to death.
Under the tent. Under the tent.
The party tents that you've been using all year for events and corporate, and anyone can get a party tent, actually.
So those have been awesome, and so that's on Saturday night. And then on Sunday, we're having a amazing superhero night honoring Charlie Van Emmen, who passed away, and we've come up, he's a young kid who loved baseball, and so Brian Kidd, that we're doing something fun thanks to Anchor Insurance. And that night, the Bombers are wearing Adams Army Foundation special jerseys. So the jerseys are all things that Charlie, before he passed away, did some fun little designs of different things that he liked. And so that's what the jerseys look like. And 100% of the net proceeds from every jersey sold go to Adams Army Foundation. So that's something that helps kids battle and support families that are battling with kids that are battling cancer. and obviously honoring Charlie. And so we're thrilled. Again, it's about being the community, doing something great. You can bid online. You can bid in the ballpark. There'll be a live auction. It's also online. And so we're thrilled. So we got a superhero. Some capes will be given away on Sunday. We got the Brian Broadcasting Fun Day at the ballpark on Saturday. We got a free game on Wednesday. We got the dancing umpire tonight. I'm just tired talking about how much fun we're going to have this week. It's going to be epic. It's going to be fun. It's going to be rowdy. And, man, after last week, we packed out Caldwell. I don't think that high school field has ever seen that many people in one night. It was amazing. We packed that out. That was the last pop-up game last week. The team is vying for a playoff spot, hot off the gates in the first half. Lots of new players that are joining us for the second half. So we're just excited. I mean, forget the World Cup. The USA is out. Who cares about soccer anymore, right? It's all about the Bombers and baseball here in town.
We're visiting with Uri Geva. He is the owner of the Brass Valley Bombers. He joins us on the Deepwater Land Services hotline. And if you ever need help getting your land cleared, your land excavated, you just need help getting your land fixed up, go check out deepwaterlandservices.com. deepwaterlandservices.com. Is this the biggest week of the summer for the Bombers? When we take a look at A, it's 4 home games, B, 4 home games during a playoff push, B, dancing umpires. I think the Charlie inspired
Charlie jersey.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The Charlie inspired jerseys that people can bid on. I look at everything this week. Is this the biggest week of the summer for the Bombers?
You know, I think every week that we do something special like this is huge. I mean, we had the Strikeout Cancer with fireworks on one Friday night. We've got another 4-game homestand to wrap up the season, which will have fireworks.
I think the pop-up games are pretty special, too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's epic. Every week is epic, and I think that's how we're looking at it, and every week is the biggest week till the next time, right? So for right now, I would say throughout this season, yep, this would be the biggest week, and we're thrilled. I mean, how fun is that? And then we got more fireworks coming up, and we got a couple more. I mean, some others. There's a 20th anniversary jersey coming up. That will be pretty special. That's going to be a really fun night at the ballpark, too, with some celebrity guest appearances. A Bomber from the original, the OG 07 season. He'll be at the plate. So we'll talk about that. We got some time. This week is packed enough. We don't need to talk about 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. This is the week to be at the ballpark with dancing umpires, a free night. Look, I know our stuff is affordable, but free is even better than affordable, right? So it's free on Wednesday, then with the Brian Broadcasting Super Fun Saturday and Superheroes honoring Charlie and raising money for Adam's Army. I mean, look, it's a communities team. We're doing a lot of fun things with the community. I've also seen some cool renderings of our new ballpark coming up in College Station with some pretty epic events happening there in the near future. So Bombers in Navasota, home away from home. This is the week to be there. Every week's the week to be there. But this week you get to see some Savannah Bananas in case you missed it, in case you love the umpires so much. You get a free game. You get Brian Broadcasting giving away a bunch of stuff.
And Superhero Night.
And Superhero with some giveaways from the Bombers and auctioning off the jersey. Net proceeds benefiting the Army's foundation there, Adams Army Foundation. So and baseball. There's also some baseball in between. I think we play the Shadowcats for the first time ever. Sherman Shadowcats are going to be in town, so that's going to be fun. 2 games set against them, and the Bombers coming in hot in the second half of the season, like we always like to do.
I think it's very key that everybody remembers bvbombers.com, bvbombers.com, because with 4 games, easy to forget, bvbombers.com. And if they would like to get their tickets for the free Wednesday game in Navasota, the only way to get tickets for the free Wednesday game is to register online. You can't walk up. They don't magically pop up in your head by thinking about them, but you can register for your free tickets for the free game, which is tomorrow, Wednesday, at bvbombers.com. And anytime you have a Bombers question, anytime you wonder, hey, when do they play at home? Hey, what's the cool event? What's going on? bvbombers.com. Tonight, Dancing Umpire, free game Wednesday, bvbombers.com to register for the free tickets. Saturday, Listener Appreciation Night 2026 with the Zone and Brian Broadcasting. Sunday, a very special night, tribute to a special kid. It's Superhero Night, and you can bid on those jerseys online at bvbombers.com. Hurry! Go be amazing. You're one of the busiest people I know, and you're in the thick of a playoff race. I wish you beat the hell out of everyone. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Go Bombers. Enjoyed having being on your show, and looking forward to seeing you on Saturday at the ballgame.
Yeah, catch your breath before Saturday so we can talk for 2 minutes without you losing your breath, man. You're so busy. You're crazy, man.
Appreciate you.
Later. Uri Geva, owner of the Bombers, joining me on the D4 Land Services hotline. When we come back, I got to wrap up our lunch hour. Lunchtime thanks to Rudy's Barbecue.
The Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Don't ask unless you want the truth, because
you can't handle the truth.
weekdays 11 to 2 on The Zone.
Sitting, and 1 o'clock, he'll join me. But sitting inside the Charles Schwab studio, the legend, the myth, no, there's no myth, he's just a legend, Olin Buchanan, and I was reliving in even more graphic detail the misery of my air conditioner being out over the weekend, which I talked about yesterday, so we're not going to relive the whole thing. And then yesterday, the assistance that I got, the guy that they sent out was great, but when you don't show up until like 6:45 at night, there's a lot of limitations to what can be done. So we're halfway there, and yeah, I'm living on a prayer. We will wrap up inside the lifestyles portion of the Louie Bellina Show. This day in history. And today's July 7th, right? I hope so, or else I have the wrong day in history. If we go back 224 years ago, 1802, the first comic book was published, and it was in Hudson, New York, and it was called The Wasp. And it was created, I love the name. I hope this was his writing. Is it called the Nom de Plume? Oh, and you're a writer. Is it Nom de Plume?
That's good name.
Robert Rusticoat, if not one of the greatest names ever. In 1968, July 7th, 58 years ago, the Yardbirds performed their final concert. For those of you not in the musical know, that was 3 years after Eric Clapton had already left and 8 months after Jeff Beck left their group. I want you to think about that. One band had as guitarist Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck. Rock gods. In the year 1977, which is now 49 years ago, July 7th, Styx released their 7th album, The Grand Illusion, which Come Sail Away with Lou. Also had Fooling Yourself on there. I've seen Styx in concert 4 to 6 times. I've seen Styx with Foreigner. I've seen Styx on those triple header bills. And here's the thing. They're awesome in concert. That's why I've seen them so many times. In the year of our Lord, 1980, 46 years ago on July 7th, Led Zeppelin played their final show, Gods of Thunder. 28 years ago in 1998, and I mean right there side by side with Led Zeppelin, right? Bare Naked Ladies released their album Stunt featuring One Week. Come on. I know they're not one-hit wonders. Is there such a thing as one hit and so many okay song wonders? Because Bare Naked Ladies is fun. I mean, they're not this epic one. Don't get me wrong, but if you hear a Chinese chicken, and a kung fu thing, whatever that, One Week is a great, fun little road trip song.
I've always liked Bare Naked Ladies.
Go ahead, Olin, now that your mic's on.
I said I've always liked Bare Naked Ladies.
And that's why Olin joins me on the Louie Bellina Show, just out of the darkness. And finally, this day in history, July 7th, it was 19 years ago, 2007, the Live Earth concerts were streamed to benefit and raise awareness of climate change. And these concerts were London, New York, Washington, D.C., Sydney, Rio, Tokyo, and Rome. When we come back, Olin Buchanan, who's no one-hit wonder, joins. He's already here, hanging out, just throwing bombs from the upper deck.